Let's have a quick look. Talk about the two NCs that I've built. I haven't done a video where I really talked about what I feel about the two. So the first NC700 that I've built had the Transalp 650 front suspension in and the XRV 750 Africa Twin rear wheel. The second NC that I've built had the CRF 450 front end in, also XRV 750 rear wheel. Now both of them I've lifted the suspension in the back a bit, and on the NC700 Build 1 I had to do fork extensions to really get it a bit higher off on the clearance that I wanted to. But it was the first build, and a lot of things I've picked up, resolved, and made my changes on the Build 2. Having built both these bikes, what are my feelings about both of them? 21-inch wheel in the front is, the rake angle is a bit weird on that. It felt, the turning circle was obviously a bit narrower than the standard 17-inch wheel. So going forward, if I were to build another one, I would definitely look at building it with a 19-inch front wheel. Spoked 19, that's it. You can have a look. You can still slot in some other suspension, CRF or whatever the case may be. But on Build 1, we were able to use the whole triple clamp in the front. What I liked about it is I got it off a Transalp 650, and that still had the HISS system with the ignition all in. So it looked really OEM when I finished the build. On the CRF 450 build, I couldn't get the HISS system in, so I had to make a plan with the ignition to fit it on the top. There's still some work to be done on the ignition, and there's still some work on the belly pan. But between the two, I've learned a lot, and if I do an honest comparison, and I've ridden all of the bikes that I'll mention, we'll talk about the Transalp 650, Transalp 600, Transalp 700, XRV 750 Africa Twin, and the NC700 that I've converted. If I take all these motorcycles and I need to pack them with quite a bit of weight, obviously the Africa Twin will be my go-to bike. It's very sturdy, but I will most probably choose a Transalp 650 or Transalp 700 above the NC. The only problem with the Transalps and the Africa Twin is you don't really get the fuel consumption that you get with the NC700. 35 k's, 38 k's a litre, whatever the case may be, it's very, very light on fuel. But it makes no sense to have something that's frugal on fuel and your subframe is not really as strong as your Africa Twin or your Transalps. The Transalps are really packed donkeys. You can load quite a bunch on them with no problem. The NC700, it does look sturdy, big piping at the back, but I haven't really loaded baggage on it like with the Africa Twin and did a long trip. So it may be that I'm just a bit skeptical on it. The NC has been always built as being an urban cruiser. It has never been a full-on adventure motorcycle. But I enjoyed the two NCs that I've built. I really did. They make it enjoyable when you drive quite far and you don't really use a lot of fuel. And most of the people do riding 80% on tar roads and 20% or so on dirt. We all like to have the big knobblies on the back and the front to say, look, we've got the adventure bike. But in reality, most traveling is done on tar. But both NCs are capable, just like the Africa Twin and the Transalps. But in my honest opinion, I think what I would do is take a Transalp 700, do a bit of upgrades on the engine, have a look at the suspension. You can get them fairly cheap, and really concentrate on doing a bit of content on the Transalp 700 and 650, upgrades, what goes wrong with them. But yeah, that is my honest opinion about the two bikes that I've built. As I said, the downside was the rake. I'll do a 19-inch in future maybe. And the other thing that I wanted to also mention is when you do these conversions, you tend to buy new tires. I had to buy new discs on the front and on the other bike in the back because the parts were really just worn out and tired, especially on the CRF 450. It had a hard life, and I had to rebuild shocks as well. But yeah, let's see what we do in the future. I really see a Trans Alp 650 or 700 on the horizon, and I'll do a bunch of motor work on it as well. I will never build a KTM 990 out of it, but I'll pep it up a bit, and I want to experiment a bit with the flow on the head and some valves. The 700 has fuel injection, so that would be better, but I bet you the Trans Alp 700 will still not come close to the NC's fuel consumption. So yeah, that was a bit on the two bikes that I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions, I get a lot of WhatsApps, get some emails where people have comments and questions. So ask away. And yeah, let's see what's on the horizon next. Cool. Till later, everybody. Bye-bye.